Whitehead's ontology is musical. His conception of how the parts of the universe interrelate as one whole is it's musical. So individuals are in harmonic resonance with other individuals, and the universe is an orchestra of full of many different kinds of instruments. And over the course of cosmic evolution, new musical scores are achieved, and gradually this cosmic orchestra is able to intensify the beauty of the music that it is playing, because hydrogen atoms learn to play the music of stars, and stars learn to play the music of galaxies, and those original stars play music so intensely that they explode, and through the process of stellar nucleosynthesis, heavier elements are born, which form into new stars. And so a more complicated form of stellar rhythm or astral music is born that incorporates these heavier elements born from the first generation of stars, right? And so eventually then planets form around the stars, and the music of the spheres is really starting to flower at that point. And then on some of these planets, molecules begin to dance with one another in these ever more intricate and complex ways, self-organizing into plants and animals and conscious human beings with complicated social organizations. And all of it is musical, right? All of it is about rhythm and resonance. And frequently, beings fall out of resonance, and there's a collapse of the harmony that had been achieved for a time. But in the course of cosmic evolution, there's a clear trend, a clear tendency toward ever more complex, ever more intense, experientially intense forms of organization and orchestration. And this cosmic harmony, this cosmic music is something that Whitehead is trying to call us to participate in, to recognize that human consciousness is not an anomaly in the universe. Human consciousness is an expression of the universe. And to the extent that we are free, moral actors, the universe itself must be at least capable of expressing itself in a free and moral way. It's not that at every stage of evolution there was the same level of moral freedom being expressed as there is now in human beings, but there was some form of longing and yearning at every stage of the evolutionary process for the type of freedom that human beings believe that we possess. Whitehead replaces modern physics' obsession with mechanism with a novel conception of organism. He calls his philosophy the philosophy of organism. He's critical of modern epistemology and its focus on sensory experience. He contrasts what we would normally refer to as sensory perception with bodily feeling or bodily reception, and he attempts to correct for the overemphasis of modern consciousness on our visual experience by directing us back to our more visceral experience of, on the one hand, our intuitive connection to our environment, the way that when we walk into a room, before we've discriminated its details, we've already internalized a feeling for it, either at the vaguest level, oh, I like this, or oh, I want to get out of here. This is a form of bodily reception rather than sensory perception. It's a vague inheritance of the totality within which we are immersed, rather than a clear and distinct discrimination of the details of our environment. He thinks that modern philosophy is focused on the details of our sensory experience, our sensory perception, and neglected bodily feeling. And that when we return our attention to bodily feeling, not only is this a vague inheritance of our surrounding environment, but to our own bodily feeling of the continuity of our consciousness, the way that in each occasion of my experience I'm inheriting the past. I have this continuity, this memory of who I am that I identify with, and somehow my bodily functioning provides that memory for me. Not that my memory or my soul is simply located inside my head or my body. Whitehead doesn't view it that way. Really, the whole universe is accomplishing what I would call my consciousness in each moment, right? Because the boundary between my organism and its environment is quite fuzzy. And because nothing is simply present in its isolated location, but in some way includes the entirety of the universe. My conscious experience is the achievement of all of it. But this continuity of consciousness does seem to be sort of intimately tied to this body. And Whitehead will poke fun at modern philosophers for treating the body as a sort of appendage that's not essential to our existence as a mind. This is really the Cartesian inheritance of philosophy. So he'll joke that, in common experience, we never show up at an event and say, here I am, and I brought my body with me. It's like, well, it goes without saying. The mind and the body are not two separate things. They're an expression of the same process. And what Whitehead wants to do is point out that consciousness emphasizes. The consciousness is in the game of emphasis, and it emphasizes by abstracting from the massive basis of our experience, which is embodied, embedded, right, and emotional. There's vague emotions at the base of all of our conscious thoughts, and only rather seldomly do we attend to those vague emotions. And Whitehead thinks that philosophy would be better served if it attended to visceral feelings of vague emotions when it is searching for the fundamental necessities of existence. That if we want to gain access to what's true in general of the universe, we need to go not into the realm of abstraction to come up with a model of a mechanistic universe that obeys imposed laws, but rather we need to go down, we need to descend into our bodily experience to make contact with that fundamental sense of inheriting in each moment our own past, or that fundamental sense of inhabiting a world of purposes that shape our own intentions, that we inherit through our visceral experience. Here's what Whitehead says about this overemphasis by modern philosophers on clear sensory experience over the vague feelings of the body. He says that human nature has been described in terms of its vivid accidents and not of its existential essence. This is from the chapter called Civilized Universe in Modes of Thought. The description of its essence must apply to the unborn child, to the baby in its cradle, to the state of sleep, and to the vast background of feeling hardly touched by consciousness. Clear conscious discrimination is an accident of our human existence. It makes us human, but it does not make us exist. It is of the essence of our humanity, but it is an accident of our existence. What is our primary experience, which lies below and gives its meaning to our conscious analysis of qualitative detail? In our analysis of detail, we are presupposing a background, which supplies a meaning. These vivid accidents accentuate something which is already there. We require to describe that factor in our experience, which, being a matter of course, does not enter prominently into conversation. There is no need to mention it. For this reason, language is very ineffective for the exposition of metaphysics. Our enjoyment of actuality is a realization of worth, good or bad. It is a value experience. Its basic expression is, have a care, here is something that matters. Yes, that is the best phrase. The primary glimmering of consciousness reveals something that matters. This experience provokes attention, dim and all but subconscious. Attention yields a threefold character in the something that matters. There is totality, there is externality, and there is internality. These are the primary characterizations of that which matters. They are not to be conceived as clear analytic concepts. Experience awakes with these dim presuppositions to guide its rising clarity of detailed analysis. They are presuppositions in the sense of expressing the sort of obviousness which experience exhibits. There is the totality of actual fact. There is the externality of many facts. There is the internality of this experiencing, which lies within the totality. These three divisions are on a level. No one in any sense perceives the other. There is the whole fact containing within itself my fact and the other facts. Also, the dim meaning of fact, or actuality, is intrinsic importance for itself, for the others, and for the whole. So Whitehead here directs our attention away from the details that we consciously discriminate in our sensory perception and the concepts derived from that sensory perception. He redirects our attention to the dim background of our consciousness, and he tries to elucidate this threefold character of that sort of massive basis of our experience, right, that's typically unconscious. And he distinguishes this sense of the totality, this sense of those others, and the sense of me, myself, right? And if you're familiar with Ken Wilber, he would describe this in terms of the I realm, the we realm, and the it realm. It's the all, the totality, me, the self, and them, the other. And Whitehead thinks that they're all on the same level. And while the subjective idealists might overemphasize the me side, some social constructionists would overemphasize the we side, and some materialists might overemphasize the it side. Whitehead wants to integrate all three, and his vision of the universe is in many ways pluralistic, but it's just as much monistic too. Yes, like Parmenides, Whitehead will say that all is one, but yes, like Heraclitus, he will say that all is in flux. And like a thinker like Empedocles will say that there are these, there's a plurality of elements that compose this universe, and we should never rush to reduce everything to oneness, right? There's a way that we can undermine the universe by reducing it to its parts and denying wholeness. And there's a way that we could, as the philosopher Graham Harman puts it, overmine the universe by reducing the individual parts and their uniqueness to the whole. So reductionism goes both ways, right? There's holistic reductionism, and there's reductionism to the parts. I know a few of you are also in my course online, Whitehead's Adventure in Cosmology, so maybe some of this is review. For those of you who have never encountered Whitehead's thought before, I hope I've whet your appetite, and I hope that you can engage with the chapters that I suggested you read for this week's lecture, and get something meaningful out of them. Whitehead is not an easy writer to understand. Many deep philosophers are difficult. It does pay off to reread some of Whitehead's work, though. I've been studying him for many years, and what I love about him is that every time I return to his work, I get something new out of it. There's something living in his way of expressing himself, which at first is difficult. It's difficult to crack the code, so to speak, but once you begin to see between the cracks, there's a lot of light coming through. And there's a whole new vision of the universe that's lying in wait for us to continue to actualize. We need to carry Whitehead's way of thought forward. I think there are many gifts in his cosmology for our contemporary civilization. And there's plenty that we might want to continue to update. But part of what it means to be a process philosopher is to engage in the adventure of cosmology in an open-ended way, never losing our sense of curiosity, never losing our sense of wonder. Right? Philosophy begins in wonder, and at the end, when philosophy has done its job, the wonder remains. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to engaging in dialogue with all of you in the Canvas discussion forum.